What's up, everybody? Noah Kaser back here for another episode of Noah Kaser Live. I brought Kyle back. Last week we did our worst of list. That was fun. Now we get into good movies.
Yes, we do.
The stuff we live for, the shit we have to watch to get to the through all the bad shit, from the Borderlands to the Mousetraps, to get to the top 10, even the top 30 of the entire year. But welcome back, Kyle. It's awesome to have you.
Absolutely.
This is awesome. How are you doing?
Thank you. Well, first, thank you for having me back. And to every one of Noah's viewers who, first of all, have subscribed over to my channel, thank you very kindly. I do promise that more content is on the way. Second of all, I do want to say, just for the public out there, if I appear a little sluggish or a little off, it's the side effects of the allergy pill that I take. It just leaves me feeling a little tired, and you'll see me reaching for my pop a little more because my lips go dry faster with this stuff, which I know pop isn't going to be really helpful with it. It should be water, but no, I love being on your show. I think you and I vibe really well. I think you and I click really well. So I'm really excited to get this one going.
And as always, guys, like, subscribe to his channel. He's super close to 900 subscribers. The last time I looked, you were about 895. So subscribe to Kyle's channel. It's Concrete Angel. Link down below in my box. And you can just watch all his videos. He does a shopping video just about every Tuesday. There's multiple things out. Last week there was almost nothing. So, but this week, I mean, my wallet hurts. My wallet.
Yeah, I have to wait a little bit. That's why I didn't do a shopping video today, because I'm like, that's a lot. I want to wait.
Yeah, I want to wait until payday because I like having money in my bank account.
Well, who doesn't?
But let's start off. We're gonna go through our honorable mentions first, and then I'll kick mine off just because I have a few more less, and then we'll go into yours and right into your top 10, and then go back and forth.
Sounds good. So you're starting with your honorable mentions?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
This is a very unpopular opinion, and I get it, but I had a fucking blast with this film. It's Red One. I had a blast with this movie. Is it good? No. It is not good. But was it made for me? Hell yeah. Buff Santa Claus, The Rock having to fight a snowman. This speaks Noah Kaser Christmas movie. It speaks bad movie, and I get why everybody hates it. I just had a fucking blast with it.
I might have... See, that's at the top of our video last week. Far be it for me to take away any enjoyment that you get out of something that I couldn't.
Exactly.
I think the movie wouldn't have been as bad for me if it just looked appealing. I think it looks extremely ugly, and that really hampers my viewing experience with the film. That being said, I am happy to hear that you were able to bypass all of that and enjoy yourself and have a really good time with it.
With that film, with a film with The Rock, it's very easy for me, unless it's like a Black Adam, which Black Adam I can't really defend all that much because even he was more wooden than usual. This, he actually had a little bit more going on, but it's not a great film by any means. Moving on to Flow, which barely missed my list. Phenomenal film, no dialogue, heartbreaking tale that also has some good comedy, and they develop all the animals so well with some of the most heartbreaking and inspiring scenes that you'll see on your screen for a long time. It's one of the best animated movies I've seen in years.
I totally agree. And even though I'm not a huge fan of the Golden Globes, they did get it right when they awarded that Best Animated Feature this year. It's awesome. When that comes out to streaming or for rental or whatnot, definitely check it out, guys. It's very short, and you'll be really wrapped up in it.
Oh yeah. And then we have Your Monster. This is mixed. Your Monster
Yeah,
is eh,
I thought it was okay. Yeah,
yeah,
I can see why a lot of people really hate it, and a lot of people really love it.
yeah, I like it. It really surprised me. With this type of a film, it's our leads. If it wasn't for our leads that helped all the dialogue, then it worked for me. But that's not the last that we're going to see of her on my list. Next up is A Family Affair. Very unpopular opinion, but it's my bread and butter. A rom-com, my bread and butter, very easy.
I will say that I didn't find it. I mean, I didn't care for it, but I didn't find it as much of a chore as I did some of the other Netflix stuff this year. So I yeah, it was all right.
And then Mother of the Bride and Bratz. Bratz, I'm a fan of all the 80s films. So this was like bringing it all back home and them not, well, most of them not seeing each other within about 30, 40 years. That was awesome. This is one I just finished this morning. It came to streaming, and that's Nosferatu. Barely missed my list.
I love that one.
My only issue was it felt a little bit slow, and I thought some of the scenes could have been trimmed a little bit. But besides that, I thought it was a phenomenal horror movie, and definitely one I can't wait to buy. It's not my favorite of his films. I like The Lighthouse a little bit more, but I like this better than The Northman. And I haven't seen The Witch yet.
The Witch is really good. I would get on that. Yeah, because that The Witch probably might be his best like what do you call it? His best like small film. Because Nosferatu has a $50 million budget, so I wouldn't call it small. But the Witch is definitely really exceptional.
And then to go a bit faster with mine, we have The Idea of You, a surprising film. Hitman. I was surprised by Hitman. Very surprised. Then we have Abigail. Abigail is a phenomenal horror comedy that it was made for me. It's bloody, it's gory, it's funny. All the leads are fantastic, especially our lead girl. Great dancer. She has a bright future, and I can't wait to see her in Wicked for good. The Wild Robot, phenomenal animated film. Not my favorite, but it's phenomenal. It can make you cry like none other. Speak No Evil, The Bike Riders, Beetlejuice, Meet Me Next Christmas, the only Netflix film that made my honorable mentions list that was a Christmas film. I didn't count the Hot Frosty film. I thought that one was too like hallmarky with the same type of story as those, so I didn't really count it. But I loved that film because it knew what it was. And being a Pentatonics story, I love the band. I love the movie. And then to end it off, we have 5 more films in Immaculate, Twisters, If, We Live in Time, and Heretic.
Very, very solid picks. Yeah, really no notes. Yeah.
And what are yours?
So I have probably triple the amount of yours. So for the sake of everyone's convenience, I'm just going to go ahead and just rattle them off and list them. In no particular order, we have the Roadhouse remake. I thought that was a lot of fun. Small Things Like These with Cillian Murphy. Cuckoo, The Hangman with LeJean Woods, really good indie horror movie. Immaculate, Snack Shack, Lisa Frankenstein, A Complete Unknown, Wicked Little Letters, The Contestant, The Beach Boys documentary, Bob Marley, One Love, The First Omen, The Greatest Busters, Frozen Empire, Dee Dee, It Ends With Us, The Idea of You, the 4:30 movie, Kung Fu Panda 4, Knox Goes Away, Hate to Love Nickelback, The Bike Riders, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Sweet Dreams, Stop Motion, Land of Bad, Trap, The Apprentice, The Menendez Brothers, Argyle, which I found extremely underrated, Cult Killer, The Substance, Conclave, Alien Romulus, Twisters, Transformers 1, Lover, Stalker, Killer, The Last Stop in Yuma County, If, Jim Henson, Idea Man, 1992, His Three Daughters, Terrifier, Piece by Piece, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Beetlejuice, Furiosa, Wolves, TikTok Star Murders, Parachute, Problemista, Challengers, Heretic, Hitman, Boy Kills World, We Grown Now, Dune Part 2, Woman of the Hour, Mars Express, Fly Me to the Moon, The Exorcism with Russell Crowe, also found that to be super underrated. Speak No Evil, Will and Harper, Bad Boys Ride or Die, The Beast, Scrambled, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, Moana, Tilly Hills Cop, Axel F, Monkey Man, The Crow. I will say The Crow was by far the most underrated movie of last year, in my opinion. I saw a lot of things in that a lot of people didn't. Kill, Back to Black, Carry On, Kneecap, The Fire Inside, Abigail, My Old Ass, Janet Planet, Sing Sing, Kinds of Kindness, Rebel Ridge, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, We Live in Time, Horizon, An American Saga, Chapter 1, The Beekeeper, Better Man, Civil War, Flow, September 5th, Saturday Night, The Killer's Game, Thelma, which Thelma I would recommend highly to you. I feel like that's a movie really, really in your wheelhouse.
Okay.
Joker, Folie à Deux, Deadpool and Wolverine, The Wild Robot, Smile 2, Inside Out 2, Strange Darling, Nosferatu, and The Order, which was on my list until I saw another film this week that changed everything. So that's, I believe, all 100 honorable mentions that I have.
And now we're going to go into our top 10, and I'm going to let Kyle go first because he has quite the number 10 that is for the entire family. Watch with your family, your mom, your dad, your girlfriend, all your kids. And that is what, Kyle?
Maxine. This is the third and final installment of what Ty West calls like his X trilogy. I put both movies at the number 9 spot for my best of 2022 list just because they were so similar. Mia Goth's performance in all three of these movies is the sole reason why the Academy needs to start paying closer attention to the horror genre. It's criminal, the fact that she has portrayed two different characters over the very tonally different films. Because Pearl is set up like like one of the old MGM or Warner Brothers Technicolor musicals from the 30s and 40s, and X is set up like a Texas Chainsaw Halloween 70s inspired horror film. Maxine plays 5. It picks up after the events of X. Pearl is a prequel, so in chronological order it goes Pearl, X, and Maxine. She wants to get away from doing adult film work. She ends up getting like her breakout role in this slasher movie called The Puritan 2. She finds out that someone or something is after her and she doesn't know what. This film, I think, is very much tonally in line with thrillers of the 80s, horror thrillers, particularly the stuff that Brian De Palma was doing at the time, with movies like Blowout and Dressed to Kill and Body Double and all that. I thought that this movie was extremely entertaining, about as entertaining as the first two. When you watch all three of them together, I think it makes complete sense. I think it's a very complete whole. The soundtrack is amazing, filled with a bunch of 80s cuts like ZZ Top's Give Me All Your Lovin', and Kim Carnes' Betty Davis Eyes. The supporting cast in this was terrific, with Halsey and Lily Collins and Elizabeth Debicki and Kevin Bacon. It's really something. I think that Ty West did a fantastic job with these movies. He even mentioned, like, somebody asked him in like a Reddit AMA or something, an AMA out there for people who aren't up on everything that stands for Ask Me Anything, when like a director or a cast member will go on to Reddit and they'll be like, ask me anything, I'll answer as best as I can. And somebody asked if he wanted to do a follow-up to Maxine, and he goes, I'm kind of happy with how things left off. And honestly, I am too. I felt that the ending was extremely satisfying. I really have no notes. I know when this came out, a lot of people were kind of iffy on the third act of it. I wasn't. It's just I think it's a rather brilliant, fun time with great practical effects and great cinematography, and of course, an all-star performance from Mia Goth once again. That's my number 10. It's Maxine.
I like that movie too. My issue was that third act, which I completely get it. I think she gives maybe the best horror performance of the entire year, hands down. Maybe.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. It's definitely up there. I mean, that's why I said the Academy needs to start taking a closer look. Even the Golden Globes bypassed it, but then again, the Golden Globes thinks that movies like Heretic and May December are comedies. So
yeah. well, I mean, don't you know that it's funny to have Julianne Moore sleep with a 20-something-year-old and cause all that drama?
Fucking riot! I was rolling on the floor.
Oh yeah, I was crying with laughter during that movie. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. My number 10 is a movie I had no expectations for until somebody went, wait, this is actually pretty damn good. And I'm like, there's no way. But it's Carry On.
So good.
I watched this the day after it came out on December 14th, and I went, fuck, this is made for me. This feels like a Die Hard mixed with a phone booth, sort of. Similar feel. This type of film works for me. Phone Booth is one of the most thrilling, engaging, and suspenseful films I've ever watched, and it's only 81 minutes long.
Yeah.
This movie is that same way. Number 10 was hard, but this is a movie I see myself rewatching multiple times a year. With Jason Bateman in this lead role, he delivers maybe his best serious role film-wise. Now, for his other stuff, probably it's like an Ozark or something, but I haven't seen Ozark. This is a phenomenal role for him. It gives us everything we love about him. His witty dialogue, his quick humor, and his smart assery that just works to perfection. I love the little twists and turns that I didn't even see coming, and I see, just like you, hundreds of films a year. I didn't see the ending going that way. This movie was phenomenally shot, great soundtrack, and gave me the most suspense out of a Netflix film. And I think it's the best Netflix film of the entire year. I can't wait. I hope we get a sequel to it and more films like this, because with a movie like this was on the top 10 for about 2 weeks at number 1, because everybody was just watching it. Nobody had any expectations for it. Then again, Netflix, not a whole lot of people know what's coming out on there, unless you're like us and you look, because they do no marketing, unless you're watching the ad tier on there, which is great for their great marketing team there over at Netflix. But I love Carry On. I think it's one of the best films of the entire year, and I can't wait to rewatch it very, very soon.
One thing I wanted to bounce off of that you put in really good words is Jason Bateman, who has always been a really gifted actor. He's always been very funny, and even when it comes time to tone it down for like dramatic stuff, I think he does really well. His usual brand of like sarcastic, dry um, humor, and his way of dealing with things, I think comes in to play in a fantastic kind of way here. It's not the typical Jason Bateman performance. I mean, he is playing. This is a thriller, and it's from the director of Non-Stop, which was a Liam Neeson movie where he was like an air marshal and he had to figure out a mystery on a plane. So this is pretty much Non-Stop on the ground,
Yeah.
but um, it's worth watching alone just for Bateman's performance. I mean, the dude is so magnetic throughout this thing. It's awesome. But the whole movie is worth watching. As you said, I can see myself revisiting it a couple of times, and I rarely revisit any of Netflix's stuff.
I think the last one I actually revisited recently might have been, God, I might have watched a little bit of The Irishman, but that's about it. But
Yeah, yeah, no, carry on. Yeah, I see where you're coming from with this one.
what is your number 9?
My number 9 is actually the first horror movie in a good long while to actually give me, uh, um, actually based off of the movie, and that is Late Night with the Devil. Uh, the Nightmare in particular, I just remember I was sitting all the way in the back row of like the studio audience of this movie and seeing everything unfold, but I couldn't move out of my seat to stop anything. And then lights go out, lights come back on, and people in masks just start roaming through the aisles. And then I woke up and I'm like, wow, that's the first time in a long time a horror movie has done that for me. And I think that's very indicative of a movie doing its job well. This movie is, I mean, it's endlessly intriguing. The film is about this late night host, Jack Delroy, played by David Datsmalchian. And it's sweeps week in 1977. His show Night Owls, like, they need like a big ratings boost because otherwise he's not going to stick around for a whole long time. Things start going haywire. And what I love about this is the buildup for things going haywire, because the first half hour you're waiting for the first shoe to drop and you don't know when it's going to come, but it slowly does so. And I think it does so in a very appropriate way that keeps the audience going with it. I dug this one so much. Another case of a horror performance that's probably going to be overlooked because Detsmalchian is awesome in this. Uh, I I think that the recreation of a '70s lost '70s media, I thought it worked very well for the most part. I mean, there are times where like you can tell that the image is a little too smooth to come from like 45 years ago.
Yeah.
But this movie just did it for me. I really, really loved it. When I saw it in theaters, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, this is awesome. There is the one slight you or the excuse me, guys. um,
Well, let's just say this, right?
Today, Junior.
I deserve that.
I do that all the time.
There is a slight elephant in the room with the whole issue of like a couple of the title cards have AI utilized on them. I'm not a big fan of AI. It depends on how it's used, though. I know that's a tricky thing to um, But overall, I still thought Late Night with the Devil was just awesome. It's a really fun time, and it might become like a new Halloween annual tradition thing that I might do.
This movie came out, and I heard how horrifying it was, and I am a chicken at horror. And when I heard that, I went, nope. I went, nope.
I feel like yeah, you might have if you're skittish with this kind of stuff. I feel like you might have a hard time with this one. But God, if you ever do make the chance or make the leap, definitely do so.
It took me the longest time to sit down and watch all of the Conjuring films. So it literally took me forever. And I found out I'm not as skittish as I was. It's just the anticipation of that film is what really gets me. So that's why I haven't seen Smile or Smile 2 yet, because those trailers in theaters, mind you, the first time I saw the Smile trailer, I was in the theater by myself at a late night showing for some sort of film, and I went, well, I might have just peed right down my leg, but I'm here, so I'm fine. But with these types of films, I sit there. When I get scared, immediately afterwards, I'm like,
Alrighty then.
but you know, I really love horror. It's a love-hate. I like horror movies. I don't like being scared.
I feel like you might have a really good time with like just some horror comedies with movies like Idle Hand or shoot, I had as soon as we move on to the next thing. But I think horror comedies might be more your bag. Yeah.
Speaking of which, we're gonna move into my number 9, which is very weird for me because I watched the first 3 right beforehand, and I love the third one. I had never seen any of them before. So going into Bad Boys Ride or Die, my first one in theaters, I heard about the Will Smith gunfight scene with the camera trick.
Yeah.
I went, okay, it's not going to be that good. I went in that theater. I was charmed within 5 minutes. And I think it's the most fun an action film has been for me in a very long time. I loved this movie. I love these characters now. I can't wait to watch these, all 4 every single year now, because it's a new love for me. I love this film. It's funny. The only thing I didn't like is how they kind of swapped who wanted to quit with the third film and then the fourth film. But with the fifth film, if we get a fifth film, this one did pretty well. So we'll see if we get a fifth one. But I loved it. It's so much fun. It's funny. It's heartfelt. The chemistry is still there, even after almost 30 years.
About 30 years, yeah.
I can't believe it's been about 30 years. I really can't. And they're still going this hot with them. I loved this film. I could watch the third and fourth one right after the show. I love this movie, and I cannot wait to rewatch it. But there's one thing about this. With the Bad Boys films, there's a lot of cars, right?
Right.
Well,
yeah.
I want to know if you knew something.
Miss Lippy's car is green.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But that is my number 9. I love that movie to death. I can't wait to watch it multiple more times this year and years after.
Yeah, those movies, I mean, they're always a lot of fun. My mom, she more so liked the second one more than the first one, but she does love all 4 of them. Buddy cop movies are my favorite kind of movies to watch, so I was right at home with this one. I did see the third one in theaters. That was 2 months before the pandemic hit. And it's just these movies are really good times. If they are going to go ahead and do another one, I'll be there opening night again.
Yep. Now, moving on to your number 8. This is sort of a horror-ish movie that I got a big scare out of, particularly from the one performance. But what is your number 8?
This one is one that the Academy might acknowledge. They might not. I have a feeling they are going to go for the substance if they're going to nominate any horror. If not, I know people are going to have a huge shit fit.
Yeah.
But my number 8 is Longlegs. This movie was... So my theater only had like 2 or 3 show times for like the Thursday night previews. They had like a 7 o'clock, a 9 o'clock, and a 10 o'clock because they didn't really think that the movie was going to do as huge as it did. It's like the 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock started selling out. They added a 7:30 and an 8:30 and a 9:30. And then the movie ended up blowing up and becoming Neon's highest grossing movie. And for really good reason. I mean, this is right in line with those like psychological serial killer movies, the 90s, which is fair to say because the movie itself takes place in the 90s. You're following this procedural of this woman who is after this very deranged, very bizarre, gonzo-like serial killer, and it is genuinely unnerving. It is very frightening. It really... Osgood Perkins is a very, very talented horror director. His other films, like Gretel and Hansel and The Black Coat's Daughter especially, are well worth delving into. With this, I think he really hit a stride and found a niche with it. I thought Micah Monroe was terrific. It's been a while since she's been in something that a lot of people really gravitated towards. Nicolas Cage is great. I think one of the big scene stealers is actually 2 of them are Blair Underwood as the director of the FBI, basically Micah Monroe's boss, and Alicia Witt as Micah Monroe's mother. I thought that this movie was just... It was really good. It's one of those movies that emulates the style of something that was so prevalent 30 years ago, and it does it extremely well. That's why I was really happy with Longlegs, and I am looking forward to this film, The Monkey.
I'm going to be very quick with my number 8 because I have a little bit to say, but I know that this is on your list, and I'm going to let you just run with it. Once we get to it, my number 8 is one I got about 40 minutes into it, and I went, what in the hell is wrong with this film? And then I was sitting there, and I'm like, Anora? Really? Anora is supposed to be one of the best films of the entire year. And then it's right after her husband's father's guys come in, where I'm like, oh, that's where it starts just going haywire. I mean, the first 40 minutes I thought were so awful and messy and choppy with no development. And then I'm texting a few friends at home, and I'm like, guys, what do you see in Anora? It's messy. It is so fast paced. They're not giving any development to any of the characters, and they just get married way too quick here. And then it hits me. That's what he was going for. That's what our writer director was going for. Their lives were messy. They were moving way too fast. They were a complete mess, and they haven't done any maturing whatsoever. Once we see who he actually is, that's when it hits me. I'm like, this is fucking genius. This movie hit me at just the right moment. Now, I still have an issue with the first 40 minutes. I thought you could have done that in 20, but I loved every single part of this film after that. This movie is one of the best films of the entire year. If it wins the best picture, we'll see. We'll see. I think that Mikey Madison gives definitely the best lead performance from a female of the entire year. She gives her heart and soul here. She gives a career-defining. Oh my God, she delivers the best performance I think I've seen from a female performer since Scarlett Johansson in Marriage Story. I think she's that good, and I think it's been that long that I've seen something or anyone that good. This movie delivers for me on every level. I can't wait to buy the Blu-ray because we get a Criterion soon in April, which I'm not looking forward to the price, but it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it to finally have it. I might wait until the sale though, because I think there's a sale November or something like that. But I enjoyed it. I know you have a lot more to say about it, but that is my number 8.
I'm just gonna leave it alone for right now because, like you did say, it is on my list. So I will discuss my thoughts on the film when we get to it.
What is your number 7?
So my number 7 is the entire reason why we pushed the best films of the year list, because I think the original plan was we were going to do both shows on the same weekend. We were going to do the worst of on Friday or Saturday night, and then the best of on Saturday or Sunday night. But I told you, I said, let's wait on the best of because there's a movie coming out that I want to see, and I want to see if it makes the list. And it definitely did, and that is The Brutalist with Adrian Brody. Not only the longest film I've seen in theaters so far, it has a running time of 3 hours and 35 minutes. It absolutely blew me away with just how engaging the movie is. It's really something. To put it into words is almost difficult, but it's extremely well written. It's exceptionally well performed. Adrian Brody has performed a ton of buzz, and for good reason. He plays one of the most renowned architects of his time. He's been contacted by Guy Pearce to put together this large project for him. All the while, he's still waiting for his wife and niece to come over from where they are because he immigrated out of Budapest to Pennsylvania, survived the Holocaust and got away from all of the atrocities of World War II and all that. He's waiting for them to come along as well. This movie was just astonishing for me. Once again, there is a little bit of a minor hiccup with the movie, apparently using AI towards the end. Apparently what they did was they used it to smooth out like their Hungarian dialect and everything. If it's helping them, like if you notice that they're mispronouncing something, I don't see why it would be such a bad, because apparently they were like, well, I dubbed over the line, spoke it into like a proper like a re-speech app or a program, and then just used that and used Adrian Brody's voice over it. I mean, in my opinion, I think that was utilized as a proper post-production tool. This movie is by far the front runner to win a lot of Oscars this year. And it's hard not to see why. It's terrific. And I'm surprised that it's not fully nationwide yet. I think that they're waiting to go fully nationwide this weekend because the nomination announcements are Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, The Brutalist, if you are in a town that has this movie, definitely go check it out. The employees at my one theater that was carrying it were like, I'm surprised that these showings are like almost packed, every single one of them, because it's such a long movie. I was like, well, ever since like the movies came out at festivals in October, people were talking about it to be a big Oscar movie. Did feel bad because I went to the 9 o'clock showing, and I didn't get out of the theater until 1 a.m. But Then I didn't feel so bad because people were in like the 10:45 of Mufasa and the 10:40 of Baby Girl. So I'm like, so I don't need to feel bad at all. Like that's there are people in there because I can hear through the door the lines going, I've always wanted a brother. So I know that people are in there watching it. But yeah, The Brutalist, definitely. Don't let the running time scare you because it is worth it.
I can't wait to see it. I'll probably have to buy it on Vudu or Prime just because my theater will not play it. And the Cinemark near me, they'll play it, but they'll do the Oscar run thing where they only show it at mine anyways. It's a 7:00 showing on like a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which I think is a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
I think that my theater should run it for at least a week or two. Instead, they just do a weekend, which I think is complete crap. But I can't wait to see it. I'm salivating at this film. I can't wait to watch it. It's 3.5 hours. And Adrian Brody, I mean, he's one of the best actors working today. And I think from what I'm hearing, he's probably going to be the front runner for Best Actor to win the Oscar at least.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard, again, like I said, it's hard not to see why. Because, I mean, he literally puts 110% behind this role. So he would deserve to win it. I'd actually be very shocked if he didn't take home the award. But that's just me speaking.
Yeah. That goes very nicely into mine because as of right now, my pick to win would be Ralph Fiennes and Conclave. Ralph Fiennes and Conclave is my number 7. This is a film I heard about this back in April when they showed, I think it was like 15 minutes at CinemaCon. And they said it was phenomenal. This movie was made just for me. It's a slow burn 2-hour film all about them trying to vote for who's going to be the next pope. And they have to have so many votes. And Ralph Fiennes doesn't want it. He doesn't want it whatsoever. So after the pope dies, they have like, oh my gosh, I forget how many popes that want it, but you need so many votes. Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, multiple others, but this movie was engaging for the whole 2 hours. A movie like this should not be this intense with all of its performance. All the dialogue is masterfully done. And I had an old friend say, well, it's just because it's a faith-based film and because you're a Christian that you liked it. I am not a Catholic. I don't listen to the Pope. I watch a movie and I'm like, I watch for the script, the performances, and I swear to you, if Edward Berger gets snubbed for Best Director, along with one other person, I'm going to be pretty AWOL pissed because this movie was beautifully framed. All the blocking was pristine. All the sound design was pristine. Everything about this movie just made me feel tense, but yet warm. It's a quiet film, and there's a nice little surprise at the very, very end that shocked me. But Conclave is one of those movies I can't wait to buy the Blu-ray, which I don't know why Walmart didn't carry it. I think that's very weird.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't carry it either. Maybe after award season they'll start getting copies of it in. I don't know. Your best bet would be to try Barnes and Noble. I know you have a better shot of finding focus feature stuff on Blu-ray in there.
Yeah. What I think I'm gonna do is I have a gift card for Amazon, so I might just splurge on that and get that for like maybe $10. I love the movie. I can't wait to rewatch this. It's a phenomenal film, and that is my number 7.
Yeah, I mean, no notes from me. At least not too many. Conclave is extremely good. There were a couple of moments where I felt like it was dragging its feet, which, I mean, it's fair enough to say. I mean, any movie is probably going to drag their feet. But the one thing that I want to make note of is I don't understand the awards campaign that they're going for. with Isabella Rossellini for Best Supporting Actress. She's
Really
in the film. She's in the film for less than 8 minutes, and while she's not bad, she just doesn't do anything that's remarkable or stands out. She's just one of the nuns of this in this papacy, or however you want to call it.
Yeah.
And she I mean, she's not terrible. I didn't have a problem with her in it. It's just with all these people are like, oh my god, nominate her immediately. I'm like, for what? I don't get it.
There's multiple other ones. I will get into one which I think is very deserving later on, but I saw that I'm like, Isabella Rossellini was good. But after hearing she was getting nominated everywhere, I'm like, why? This isn't like a Glenn Ross or a Les Mis with a Anne Hathaway performance where she's in it for more than 8 minutes. But Glenn Ross, I mean, he has one speech that is phenomenally done. But with this film, I think its best shot is probably best screenplay, which my next pick I think would be my pick for it. But this is a phenomenal film, and I get why they're doing most of the nominations, but I completely agree with you. She's great. Nominate somebody who's in it for more than the time it takes me to go and take a pee.
I think it's one of those like delayed nominations where they're nominating her after like so long of her not receiving an award. I think it's one of those kind of things. I mean, which is fine, I understand, but also just don't like you kind of have to pay attention with that kind of stuff.
But moving on to number 6, what is your number 6?
My number 6 is the third A24 movie on this list, and it is Love Lies Bleeding, with Kristen Stewart, and the other girl's name is Katie O'Brien. Speaking of harkening back to movies from the 90s, this is a movie very much like Thelma and Louise and Bound. It is about these two women. Katie O'Brien is a bodybuilder, and Kristen Stewart works at a gym, who fall for each other. They start spending a lot of time together. You find out pretty early on in the movie that Kristen Stewart's father, played by Ed Harris, is a career criminal, and she's trying to get away from that, trying to distance herself from him as much as possible. And what unravels is very much a thriller that does take chances, and when it leaps, it makes great leaps of and it does so very, very appropriately, and it sticks the landing when it does. This is a movie that I hope more people look at and watch. I believe it's streaming on Max.
Yes.
But it is okay.
Yes.
Yeah, if you didn't see this in theaters, or you missed it in theaters and wanted to see it, definitely give it a watch. It's awesome. And that's my number 6. It's Love Lies Bleeding.
There's one thing that made me go, I don't know. With films, there's a few things I don't really like. Is this film very sexually? What's the right word? Does it have a lot of gratuitous sex in it?
I mean, yeah, somewhat. No, you started to say it, and you were saying the right thing. It's very erotically charged.
Okay. Yeah. There we go. That's one where I was like, I don't know if it's for me, but seeing that was on your list, it was either watch this or Nosferatu, and I'm like, I gotta do the horror movie first. I have that on my my watch list to watch later next week, which I can't wait to finally watch it. My number 6 is one that I think is going to win one Oscar. It's sweeping, and it's the best supporting actor. But I think it should be up for a lot more awards, especially for the best screenplay. I think it's the best screenplay of the entire year. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. It's A Real Pain. It's funny. It is heart-wrenching. These two guys have phenomenal chemistry. And my God, have I loved each of these guys for years. Jesse Eisenberg, I've loved him since The Squid and The Whale. That movie is underrated. And Culkin, I mean, who doesn't know the Culkin family? But this one, oh my God, Kieran Culkin gives the most heart-wrenching performance I think he's ever given. He has to be so funny but serious, and he knows how to give that. This movie is 90 minutes long. I am going to rewatch this probably this week, which I'm glad I waited because this was my first movie of 2025. So I'm glad I picked a good one this year. I love this movie. It is phenomenal, and I love that it's my number 6.
I'll get more into it because it is on my list, but fully in agreement with you. I mean, it's just it's brilliant, especially with Culkin, very much so. My number 5 is one of the it is a perfect encapsulation of why I love movies and why just why I adore the art form in general. It's The Fall Guy. This is extremely funny, very well put together, choreographed very well in the action sequences, has a killer soundtrack, wonderful performances. I had a lot of fun with this. I know it didn't perform up to expectations that Universal was hoping for at the box office, but it is still just a fantastic, very entertaining, very loving ode to stunt people. Which the fact that there's not like a best stunt person Oscar category is beyond me, because those people are risking their entire lives to make sure that certain shots look good or come out the way that the director is intending them. Absolutely phenomenal. I will say, though, because this is streaming on Peacock, the film was released to home media with a theatrical cut, which is 2 hours and 6 minutes, and an extended cut, which is 2 hours and 26 minutes. I will say, please, if you're going to watch this, stick with the theatrical version. There's nothing inherently wrong with the extended version, other than the fact that it doesn't really add any new scenes, and it literally extends certain scenes. There is a scene where, without giving too much away, where Ryan Gosling comes or meets Aaron Taylor Johnson. They meet on screen for the first time. In the theatrical cut, it's about maybe 4 or 5 minutes. In the extended cut, that scene is almost 15 minutes long, and and that to me kind of like stumbled the pacing a little bit. So if you really want just like a full authentic experience, stick with the theatrical cut, which is very rare that I say something like that, because normally I'm like, no, watch the longer cut. It's got everything you would want about it. That's not necessarily the case here. Although I am intrigued of seeing the extended cut of Nosferatu when that hits, because that's supposed to be really, really good. But Fall Guy, I highly, highly recommend this one.
I really enjoyed it. I have to rewatch it. The extended cut, I wanted to, But hearing you say that, there's no reason I need to now. I mean, with the extended cut of Nosferatu, having not seen the theatrical cut in theaters, I watched the extended cut. Unfortunately, it's only 4 minutes longer than the original version. I don't know what's different, but once you see it, you can tell me. I'm not quite sure, but from what I know, it's not changed a lot. But it might be like maybe an extra spurt of like a blood. I think I can say this. In the theatrical cut, did he murder the two daughters?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. See, I don't know what it could have been, but I can't wait to hear that because I don't know what's different. But my number five, yes, five. My number five is a movie that I saw in theaters. I didn't see the first one in theaters, so I watched it for the first time about a year or so back, and I went, "This is good, but we'll see how the sequel is." I was not expecting Inside Out 2 to be as impactful as it was. The scene that everybody talks about is the anxiety attack scene. As somebody with it, this is exactly what it feels like to me. This is exactly what it is. And sitting in
100%.
theaters, all the families there with older kids and younger kids. And I'm not saying like older, like maybe 12. No, the older kids were about 8. They didn't understand. The parents got more out of this film than the kids did, and they went in there. One dad said, "Oh, I'm gonna sleep right through this. This is just a Disney kids film." I went, "Okay, clearly you didn't see the first one." The second we get to the anxiety attack, there's not many moments in theaters where I'm just sitting there and I can't move in the theater because I'm just so enthralled and I'm just staring. I don't know if I blinked during that whole scene because that whole scene is heartbreaking, but it's very real. And kids need to see that because in this world, I'm glad we are finally acknowledging that these things are very, very important and they need to be discussed and shown at a younger age. And I think this did it perfectly because some kids who saw the first one are getting to that age where they are going to start having that type of stuff happen. And this movie, you have your favorite characters, but nobody is talking about my favorite character in Embarrassment. I fell in love with that character. That character was me in high school. I would wear my hood and just go like that and get so red. It spoke to me. This movie, I think, is the best animated film of the entire year. Not Disney's best film of the entire year, but I think this should be in the conversation for the best Oscar. But I know it's going to The Wild Robot, but this is a damn good year for all the animated films. I can't wait to see what happens next year. But this is a phenomenal film, and it's my number 5.
Yeah, I mean, very well put. I don't have too much to add with it, but it is great. Yeah, my number 4. This is one that I'm actually going to save discussion for because I know it is on your list, and we will have a full discussion when we get to it on your list. But I'm going to keep it very short, very sweet. My number 4 is Wicked Part 1. Absolutely gorgeous film. I will talk more about it when we get to it on your list.
I have a lot to say about it. I just rewatched multiple scenes. The day it came out on New Year's Eve, I went, do I really have to buy this movie on digital, or do I want to wait until 4th of February to buy the Blu-ray. I've rewatched multiple scenes multiple times. We'll get into that in just a little bit. My number 4 is a movie that actually caused the breakup of me and my ex. But that's for another time. This is Deadpool and Wolverine.
And that's
this movie is exactly what we needed. The MCU was on a downtrend for multiple films, and this is exactly what it needed. Can Captain America, Brave New Worlds, keep it going? We'll see.
I hope so.
This is an Elseworlds film. He's in the MCU, but it's also a Fox film. And the very end, I'm not going to lie, multiple people in my theater were bawling during the end credits because you're saying goodbye to the past 20-something years of the Fox films, and it's a sad thing. It's a sad goodbye. But watching this movie at 7 o'clock the night it came out, I went, I don't know what I'm going to get into. The opening scene, when we get to the opening credits, I just had a shitty grin on my face the entire time. Bye 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 playing, rejuvenating everybody's love for that song and making it a chart-topping hit in 2024 was mind-boggling to me. My only issue is, one of my all-time favorite films is The Greatest Showman. As soon as I saw it was on the soundtrack, I'm like, oh boy, we get The Greatest Showman. What's going to happen here? And it's just in the fight scene in the car where it's just a 3-second snippet. That made me a little bit angry, but that's fine. A little nitpick, just from a fan of that film. I loved all the cameos. I hope we get a Gambit film because Gambit finally got his due. We got him on screen. Phenomenally done. Blade, I love their little jab. Blade finally came back in a Marvel movie, and we're not going to get the new version until probably 2037 at this point. But I loved this movie. It's funny. It is violent as all hell. The bloodiest MCU movie that there will ever be. It is R-rated to the core. Hugh Jackman delivers a phenomenal performance here. I can't say enough good things about this movie. Deadpool and Wolverine was probably the third best time I had at the movie theater, and it's one of my favorite MCU movies, period. I love this movie, and Deadpool and Wolverine is at my number 4.
Yeah, it really is a fun time. Watching it a second time at home, sort of what the same issue was with what was it? The last Spider-Man that came out, is that part of the reason why you enjoyed it so much the first time around was the audience experience around you. Mm-hmm. Now that high has left and you're revisiting the film on your own, I can see why some people might not love it the same way the second time around. But it is a fantastic movie. It really is. I loved all the nods that they put in, like how Gambit was a movie that never came out, and they mentioned, like, are you really even supposed to be here? Like, I'm not sure what your trajectory is. I do love that they poke fun at the rift that Ryan Reynolds and Wesley Snipes had on Blade Trinity, where he goes, I don't like you. And he goes, he never did. But it is a great movie. The only complaint I have is that some major songs in the film are not on the soundtrack release. Like Bring 'Em Out is not on the soundtrack, and Like a Prayer is not on the soundtrack. Everything else is. Yeah, no, it's. I have it right here. I was just sitting by a pile right here. Yeah, everything else is here. Glamorous by Fergie. Angel of the Morning, Iris by Goo Goo Dolls, I'm With You by Avril Lavigne. The Greatest Show is on here. Good Riddance, The Time of Your Life, which plays during that end credits montage. It's weird that those two songs are absent from this, but who knows? But yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine is terrific.
What is your number 3?
It is A Real Pain with Eisenberg and Culkin. This movie is sublime. Like it is one of those rare movies that actually captures real human beings and shows them being extremely authentic. I think it tackles mental health issues in a very caring and appropriate way. I thought the acting from both Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin were just outstanding. Probably the best work either of them has done to date. It really is something. It's painfully beautiful. Like there's a lot of pain in the movie, emotional pain. But there's also lighthearted moments and everything. I find that the movie is a really good balancing act, and yeah, that's my number 3.
Okay, give me just a second.
Yeah.
The Charger's not wanting to cooperate. Get in there, you son of a bitch. There we go. Okay. Anyways, I love that movie. It's on my list at number 6, and man, doing the top 10 is hard, especially with a movie you love. But my number 3, I wanted to see it in theaters so bad. It's one of this director made one of the most underrated films that everybody saw when it came out on streaming, and nobody saw it in theaters except for a few people because it didn't open wide at all. But Luca Guadagnino put out Challengers this year. And Challengers is a movie that I put off until literally the last minute, towards the tail end of the year, because I was anticipating this. I love all 3 leads. And this movie is the sports movie of a generation. It is so funny, but it's a romance film that isn't romantic in the slightest. This has a lot of moments where there's some cheating, but it's warranted. I feel like it's what the characters had to do at that point, or else they were going to go insane. This movie delivered what I wanted from it. I think that Zendaya should be up for a Best Actress nom. She won't. I think it came out too early, but I think that she gives her best performance she's ever given. Besides maybe the Netflix film she did, Malcolm and Marie, I thought she was sublime in that. I think she deserved a Oscar nom for that, and that deserved a lot more, but nobody wanted to see it. They said it was a fight film. This one, you could say the same thing. I mean, it's about her and her pro husband who go to a tennis tournament, and mostly it's them going back in time about how they met each other with his best friend and what happened between them. I'm trying not to go into a lot of spoilers, but I think this film delivered what I needed from it. It's 2 hours and 11 minutes, and by God, it didn't feel like it. And the tail end shocked me. I thought for sure that there was going to be a fight here. There wasn't a fight. The ending scene on the tennis court almost made me bawl because it was so beautiful. After all these years, nothing has changed, and they just see it is their love has never gone away. It just took years for them to come back together at the right moment. Challengers is a beautifully done film, and I can't wait to watch this multiple more times. It is my number 3 of 2024.
Yeah, that was a really good movie. The one thing that I took away from it is that it's a power play, meaning all three people want to be in control, and they get a lot of frustration through the two characters because you're dealing with somebody who also wants control, and you're butting heads, and it creates like this really interesting riff and tension in the movie that is one of the reasons what made it so popular. I know some people were a little upset because the movie was marketed a little more erotically than what they actually got. I still think it's a very charged up movie, but not in an explicit way. I think it does it very tastefully. Uh, I thought, see, I've seen the movie twice. I struggle to love it as much as a lot of other people do, but I do admire it a whole great lot.
Did you like this one better, or his other film, Bones and All?
This one.
This one? Okay.
Yeah.
This next one for you, this was a mixed film. And some people absolutely love this movie. Some people hate it. What is your number 2?
It's interesting that you say that because I saw nothing but love about it from people who had seen it, and this movie was flip flopping with my number 1 for a little while in my head because I'm like, it's so fantastic. But in the end, it stuck as number 2, and that is I Saw the TV Glow from Jane Junbrun and A24. This is a very powerful movie. It's a very special movie. Any movie that can just absolutely hold the viewer in its grasp so tightly like this one does is commendable. By the end of it, I felt like I had seen something very revolutionary. It's very much kind of like this generation's Donnie Darko. I don't know if you've seen Donnie Darko. I recently just watched it for the first time. I would say it's this, it's a modern day Donnie Darko, but it really is. It's just so beautiful. It's a film all about these two best friends. They meet because they go to the same school, and they have a mutual love for this kind of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer type show called The Pink Opaque. And one day, what is her name? Bridget Lundy Payne. One day she leaves without saying a word, and Justice Smith is kind of confused. He doesn't know what to do. He's also dealing with his mother, who is deteriorating, from cancer. He also has his father, who is emotionally from him. They're not really connecting on the level that he wants them to connect with. But this movie is so worth discovering on one's own just for the sheer power it has. It is astounding. It is one of the most original films I have ever seen. I think it's a masterpiece of a motion picture. I really do, because all of the performances are fantastic, right down to Fred Durst as Justice Smith's father in this. He's only in the movie for a couple of minutes, but I love that he's expanding himself out of this wheelhouse of like kind of poking fun at himself or Limp Bizkit, much like he did with Y2K. And he's portraying a very grounded character who like with his child, but has a hard time doing so because I just don't think he genuinely doesn't know how to do so. It's a very revolutionary film. It's one that has spoken volumes for a lot of people. As far as representation for the LGBTQIA plus community, as well as and specifically transgendered people, I think this movie is very beautiful. I think I think it treats everybody with the love and respect that the audience is treating itself with, and it's marvelous. It really is. The soundtrack, which is like an indie pop sort of soundtrack, is also really lovely to listen to. This movie just it is extremely special, and I urge everybody to not only see my number one pick, but to also see my number two pick, because it's too special and too rare of a good thing to just forget about at the end of the calendar year. I know I went on for a little bit, but I loved it. I saw the TV Glow is amazing.
I have to rewatch it. The first time I watched it, I think I watched it at the wrong time. I decided to watch it after first getting up in the morning at 7:00 in the morning.
Yeah, that's a late at night movie. That's not.
Yeah, I went. So this is how I'm starting my day, and I think that's why it didn't really hit me that way. But I might rewatch that tonight. That might be the movie I'll watch tonight. Just because I'm flip-flopping between a couple of them, but that might be the one.
Yeah, it's awesome.
My number two, I don't love the original. Well, the first part of it. Part two, however, the one that just came out this year, is one of the most powerful, beautifully done sci-fi action epics I have ever seen in my entire life, with Timothée Chalamet giving his best performance as Paul Atreides. You have an all-star cast with my boy Austin Butler, who I think is going to be a massive talent. I love Dune Part 2, and it's my number two. The silence scene is probably the most honed in I've been during a sci-fi film, even past any Star Wars film, any film like that. This movie is so action-packed, and I hate to say it, but it's true. A lot of people don't know, but I don't drink any pop whatsoever. So when I go to any movie, I get 2 bottles of water. If you've seen Dune, you know how precious water is. So watching Dune, I didn't want to drink because I felt bad, because in that world, water is literally like the savior.
It's scary.
Everything. It's everything. I mean, even up to anyone wanting to cry, they take the tear and they put it in their mouth because it's some sort of water. This movie has the most beautiful silent battle I've ever seen with Austin and Chalamet. The twist that happens here. Oh my God. What Paul Atreides goes through here, not knowing what he was going to do, legit not knowing anything about the Dune story. I went in there, I wanted to hate him, but I can't. And from what I'm hearing about Dune Messiah, you are either going to flip your shit or you're going to absolutely love it. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to look up anything about it. But Dune Messiah, if they do it the way it's in the books, apparently from everyone who's read it, you're going to absolutely hate this guy more than you have hated anybody in film. This movie is powerful. It's the best sci-fi film I've ever seen in the movie theater. And Dune Part 2 is my number 2. It's miles better than the first part. I found the first part to be very, very slow and dragged out with almost no action. This was completely different. It was action packed, almost pushing 3 hours, did not feel 3 hours whatsoever. I love this movie to death. Dune Part 2 is my number 2.
Have you seen the original Dune from 1984?
No.
So I checked that out. So I saw Dune Part 2 like a week early. They were doing like an IMAX advanced screening for it. So that was the weekend where I had moved into my new place, and the first movie that I watched in my new place was the David Lynch Dune, which, by the way, may he rest in peace. That man was a visionary. Dune is not great, but it has. You can see definitely. I would recommend to people watching that one and then watching the new Part 1 and Part 2 back to back, because they're both doing the same thing. They're adapting the novel into one film, but Dune has like the original from '84 has like a lot of really cool special effects and everything. But the problem is, because of the budget and the time constraints, like the beginning of Part 1 happens like within the first 20 or 30 minutes of this one, and then by like an hour and 50 minutes into the or 2 hours into the '84 one, we're already at like the Paul Atreides like one-on-one battle. It does some very interesting things. It definitely is not Lynch's best movie, but it's really something. Like, as a curiosity piece, it's interesting to watch. With Dune Part 2, it was really good. I liked it a little bit more than the first part as well. I can appreciate that the studio took a huge gamble on it, because he wanted to split the movie into 2 parts so he could accurately capture the feel and adapt the original novel properly. And I think they made the right decision. It paid off extremely well. I think Dune 2 is a great payoff to everything that was set up in the first part.
And now moving into our number ones. Before we go into the number ones, there's only one thing I have to say, and I don't think there's anybody better than to say it than Mr.
Harry, I've reached the top.
We are at number 1. So our number ones are a bit different, but nonetheless phenomenal films. Kyle, what is the best movie of 2024 in your eyes?
So I kind of make it a rule to myself that I don't really want to repeat a director. Like, if I picked a previous film of theirs to be best film of the year, I kind of try not to repeat them for like their next project or any of their other future projects. But given how just dynamic and talented this filmmaker is, it was hard for me not to. His film Red Rocket in 2021 was my best of the year, and now this year it's Anora. It is just such a wild ride. The thing that Sean Baker does, and I think that he does it extremely well, is he takes these figures of society that are busting their ass the most or having the hardest time trying to find their footing in the world. With a movie like The Florida Project, he took this like little slice of Americana of this family having to make by in this motel, not really knowing if they're going to like continue staying there or not. With Red Rocket, you have somebody who used to be a former adult film star who's also trying to get his shit together. And with this, it's Anora. I mean, she's a sex worker. She's a stripper. turned escort after she meets this Russian guy at her place of business, and they start getting into this romance like really fast, and they end up marrying in Vegas. And you're watching the movie and you're like, wow, this is a pretty chaotic journey, but I kind of understand why, because these are two people who want to get to the good stuff as fast as possible, and they don't want it taken away from them. That's why about 45 minutes in, when what's the Russian guy's name? Is it Igor? I think that's not Igor.
No.
Ivan. When
Ivan.
Yeah. When Ivan's family members come in, it turns into one of the best executed screwball comedies I have ever seen. It is, and it sneaks up on you. Like, it doesn't say like, hey, we're shifting gears now, this is what the movie is going to be. It does it very naturally that you don't realize it's happening until the movie is well on its way to coming to an end. It is masterfully executed, beautifully performed. I think Mikey Madison is the best performance of the year, bar none. I think it is the cinematography that he uses like this gritty structure cinematography, because you are witnessing, you're following working class people, and they really don't necessarily have the glitz and glamour that, like, you know, Hollywood starlets do. So it's only appropriate that the look and feel of these movies matches what these characters do. The ending is a really nice touch on things, seeing our protagonist come full circle. There just really wasn't a movie that I felt was as potent as this movie was this year. Like I said, the one that came close was I Saw the TV Glow, but Honora just won out for me. It's awesome. That to me is today, Junior. It is the reason why I love movies. I love that something like this not only exists, but it's been embraced, and it is an awards season front runner. Honora is my pick for the best of 2024.
It is a phenomenal film. I actually had it out of my top 10 for a while. And then the more I thought about it, the more it just clicked. And the better it got, the more I thought about it over the past 2 or 3 weeks. And finally, I just want you want to know what? There's not a movie I saw last year that did that. That completely changed my mind about halfway through, where I finally just clicked with it. With my number one, I know that this is cliched for anybody who knows me, but my bread and butter is not only a rom-com, right? But also when there's a musical out, you know it's probably going to be in my top 10. However, in 2021, it was West Side Story. 2023, it was Wonka. 2024, I walk in to the movie theater. I'm very excited. I know almost none of the music. All I know is just little snippets of the Broadway show I've seen in just little clips. I walk out of the theater and I watch the entire credits, which I never do unless it's like a big, expensive film with a post-credit scene. I walk out of the theater, and the husband of the theater owner goes, "So, Noah, what'd you think of it, man?" I said, "That might be one of the best movies you've ever played in this theater. Out of the hundreds I've seen, out of the many years that they've owned it since like 2003, 2004, I think that this is one of the best ones they've ever had in their theater, and that's Wicked." Wicked is a movie that did something very few films do. we get to the opening shot, not knowing what's going to happen and not knowing how this story took place, where it starts immediately after the Wicked Witch is dead. And we go back in time to where they meet at school, and where it really got me is the dancing through life scene. Everyone is talking about 3 songs. What is this feeling? Defying Gravity, and of course, Popular. Dancing Through Life is a song that just changed my perspective on what a musical scene could be, with the production design, with that wheel in the library, the vocal performance, the overall just feel of the entire film, that single scene, and then the Oz Dust Bowl. It's a complete tonal shift. We see her get the black hat, and I didn't know what was going to happen. When she walks in there, everybody is looking at Elphaba. Like, what are you wearing? You look like a wicked witch. And then Galinda goes, oh, wait a minute. It clicks with her what she sees now and why it's wrong. What she's been doing has been wrong. Their dance in the Ozdust Bowl, that was powerful. That single tear that runs down her cheek made me burst out into tears. I knew nothing about this movie. We get to the big scene, Defying Gravity. Before we got there, I was going into this film, and Ariana Grande, I heard, was phenomenal. I didn't think she was going to be Oscar caliber. Seeing her on the Nickelodeon shows, listening to her music, I know she can sing. I knew she could be a Nickelodeon actress. I didn't know she could be an Oscar caliber actress. What she has to do here with these subtle hints in just her face and her tone, especially in right after the Popular song, she takes her glasses off and goes, no. That subtle smile, every female in that audience burst out laughing. Every guy went, what are you laughing at? And then you think about it, wait a minute. It's a commentary on beauty standards. And what they're doing there is powerful enough that everybody in the theater finally came together as a whole and went, this is what we're in for. This is a friendship tale. This movie is a buddy, female-driven, heart-sinking but funny musical that is a journey of a lifetime about them going to Oz. And once we get to Oz, learning why the wizard wanted her there. Why she has to defy the gravity. This movie changed me in a way that no film has done in a great long while. There's only been 2 films that have changed me in the past 3 years. And that was Wonka and Wicked. Wonka is a warm hug. Wicked is a upbeat, warm just cuddle. It cuddles you in for 2 hours and 42 minutes. This movie is unlike anything I've seen. And I have nothing better to say about this film besides, I know this isn't going to win the Best Picture. Sure. Ariana Grande is not going to win the Oscar. I hate the word snub, but a supporting performance done better this year, oh no. Ariana Grande is the best supporting actress of the entire year. I get it. The substance. Quali is amazing in that. Sure. What Ariana Grande does here is so subtle and sweet and touching. The music if you can make me sit there for 2 hours and 40 minutes and be completely enthralled and change my view as a movie lover, this movie did that for me. And the second I got out of that theater, I wanted to walk in there and watch it again, but there was no more showings. This movie is the best movie of the entire year. It's one of the best of the entire decade of the 2020s, and I have no doubt this is slowly going to creep up into my top 20 of all time. But
Yeah,
I love this.
It's phenomenal. Me being a huge Wizard of Oz fan, I had no exposure to the musical. I mean, none at all. And when I heard that they were doing a 2-part film adaptation, I was like, okay, well, I want that to be my first exposure. And it's just extremely impressive in so many ways. Cynthia Erivo is utterly spectacular as Elphaba. And Ariana Grande is amazing as well. Her performance reminded me a lot of Brittany Murphy. Brittany Murphy sadly passed away in 2009, but if you've seen movies like Clueless and Uptown Girls and Just Married, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. I think Grande completely. So this is a role that is a dream role of hers. She has always wanted to play Glinda, and I think she is treating it with the respect that it's owed, and she's having an amazing time with it. This movie is just it's everything that you said it was. It's phenomenal. It's very emotional. It's everything you could want into. I mean, the fact that this movie has had enough steam to where it's still playing nationwide nearly 2.5 months after its release, I mean, that has to say something.
Yep.
The only quibble I have with the movie, and it is the most minor one, it happens fairly early on, when Glinda and Elphaba first meet each other at the on campus at Shiz University,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody jumps back and they're like, "Oh my god!" The very next cut is to the staff members of the university, and one of them is a talking sentient goat. And I said, "You mean to tell me that they have a problem with her skin being green, but they're completely okay with that thing walking around? Make it make sense." But this is phenomenal. It's funny. It's really funny. It's beautiful. It's heartfelt. It's astounding. The fact that John M. Chu, who is directing both parts of the film, has treated this with the love and care that it so much deserves is, I mean, and this movie was well worth the wait for a lot of people. Like when we saw this, it felt like seeing Deadpool and Wolverine, but for theater kids. And man, was this was something. The musical numbers are so well executed. It's a vibrantly colorful film. I'm not only looking forward to revisiting it, but I'm also looking forward to seeing the second one. Which for the longest time, it was Wicked Part 1 and Wicked Part 2. And then a month after Wicked Part 1 is in theaters, they say, well, now Wicked Part 2 is just called Wicked for Good. I'm like, fuck off. I hate that. Just stop doing that.
And I get why they did it, but the thing is, the general audience isn't going to know that For Good is a song in the musical Wicked. The general audience isn't going to know that.
I hate that they did that. I mean, thankfully Dune didn't do that. Like when Dune Part 1 was when that came on screen, Dune Part 2 just stuck with Part 2. It didn't call it like Dune Part 2 Lisan El Galib or I know I'm butchering that. or Dune Spice Wars or something like that. It's just
Yeah.
part one and two. So that leaves me a little miffed, but I know that movie is going to be and I do want to watch it with the commentary track. I haven't watched a movie with the commentary track in a while, but I'm told that because apparently the digital version comes with a bunch of extras, and one of them is a commentary track with Ariana and Cynthia.
Yep.
So that I do want to listen to. Yeah, it's on my list of best of the year, and I fully agree and understand why you picked it as your best. It's phenomenal. Movie musicals rarely get better than that. I mean, it's awesome.
There's with a film, there's very, very few films that my family will go and see. So we couldn't go this year, but when it came to home video on my Prime, my mom goes, "Can I watch just 3 songs?" I said, "Sure." Defy Gravity, she doesn't pay attention to nothing. She is on her phone, she's on her tablet, and she's just scrolling whenever anything is on. Defying Gravity came on, her eyes were glued to that screen, and she goes, "That was good." And I went until I put the whole thing on for you. We only had about 30 minutes, and I'm like, she'll want to see that song, but she doesn't know what that song means yet. All she knows is it's beautifully done. And with her issue, she couldn't have seen that in theaters with all the spinning and everything. So I'm glad I waited until at home. But Wicked is a movie that's stuck with me this long. I know that a lot of people love it more than I do because they've known the musical for 20 years. And they've waited this long for 20 years. For me, I'm just a fan of all musicals. This was life-changing, and I don't think there's going to be a film next year besides Wicked. Wicked for Good is going to be my number one. And every year, I'm usually right about which film is going to be my number one before it comes out. Wonka was the year before that. 2022, it was the Batman, and I knew it was going to be that one. 2021, West Side Story, and 2020, we're throwing that out the door because 2020 was a complete clusterfuck where everything got pushed and but I loved this. This is going to be a film that lasts for a generation, and this is going to introduce a lot of fans to this world because The Wizard of Oz is a childhood film for literally everybody. Everybody has seen that movie.
You hit it right on you nailed it. It is the first Oz related film, I think, since The Wizard of Oz to come across as completely timeless. Like, this is going to be a timeless film for years and years to come. Not anything against movies like The Wiz or Return to Oz. Can definitely just tell that those were products of the 70s and 80s. Doesn't mean that you can't enjoy them. I enjoy both of those movies very much, but Wicked has The Wizard of Oz's like timeless quality to it.
I loved it, this show, man, and hopefully we can do it next year as well with the best and worst, and hopefully we get you on more often for some full-on reviews because, my God, our reviews are so much fun. We see just about everything every year. And is it worth it?
Absolutely.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But to get to something like Anora and Wicked and I Saw the TV Glow and Dune Part 2, these are the movies that we live for. We live to see these films, but I mean, these movies are the reason that we are a lover of film, and it's movies like this that keep us coming back to the theaters.
Yeah, it's I enjoyed doing these as well. We'll talk after the stream ends here in a minute. But I think we should join up again next week to talk about our opinions on the Oscar nominee.
Yep. And I do want to do a little announcement. I have a very special show on Friday night with a YouTube critic who is pretty big. He's not the biggest, but it's Chris from the Movies and Munchies channel. I'm having him on as a special guest, and we're going to go through all the movie news, and we are going to do the regularly the segment that everybody loves. I don't know why they like it, but that will be the release rewind segment, where we take a look at what came out 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and we just go over that and make people feel old, because everybody feels old, and I like doing that. But as always, everybody, like, subscribe. I will have a brand new show tomorrow night with some news that dropped that is a little bit odd, but we will get into that tomorrow. We will take a look at the shocking #1 at the box office, and why is Mufasa still going strong at almost $600 million, and how long will it go, along with a lot more. But as Kyle said, we will come back next week and go over the Oscar nominations, which is going to be very exciting. And as always, everybody, there's one thing that I always have wanted to say on a live stream. And if you don't think that our list is right, well,
frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Our list is right, your list is wrong, and in all seriousness, if you love or hate a movie on our list, it's all a subjective opinion. Movies are subjective. If you hated Anora, cool. If you hated Wicked, fine. I don't understand you, but fine, cool. It just didn't work. And if our worst list is on your best of list, God bless you, but I just don't get it. But as always, everybody,
if anybody has, not to interrupt, if anybody has any of my worst of the year list on their best of the year, I would be genuinely concerned. That's a good thing.
But as always, I'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll both see you next week for the Oscar nominations.
Yes,
and
we
as
will.
always, guys, I will see all of you guys next time.